Good morning and welcome to the podcast. My guest this morning is Superintendent Chad Redmond from Northmor Local School District. Welcome back, Chad.
Good morning, and thank you for having me back. I always appreciate coming on and chatting with you and discussing all the wonderful things happening in Northmor Local Schools.
Well, you have a wonderful school district, and I know you're one of the school districts that normally starts a little later in the school year than probably the other 9 school districts that I basically have in here and interview.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing you probably have you have already ended the first half of the year.
Yeah, in fact, as you mentioned earlier, we do run that agronomy calendar. We start after Labor Day.
Yes.
We have a very rural community, even though we are seeing that kind of diminish over time. You know, we are heavy into the agricultural rural farming piece, but district is growing and we're seeing less and less farmland like anywhere
Right.
else, but we still have a strong base and that's important to us. But yeah, we don't start till after Labor Day, as do the other 3 county schools. So we just finished our first semester, so we're just now chipping away at semester 2. And beginning the third quarter, and happy to get there. It seemed like with these calamity days as of recent, we were never going to get there. But
yes.
five closures in a 3-week period, all kind of bundled together, really slowed that process. But we are now into the second semester and third quarter.
All right, January, we're almost towards the end of January now, so I know January, you folks always have a board organizational meeting and
Yep.
a lot of things going on. Why don't you enlighten us to what's going on in that realm?
Yeah, I had an organizational meeting. I don't have the exact date in my head right now. We typically meet the third Tuesday of the month
Okay.
for our traditional regular board meetings. So what we've done historically in my 9 years as the superintendent of the district, we've just pushed that up a week. Traditional school districts are required by law to have that organizational meeting within the first 15 days of the month, and you know, depending on how the calendar falls, depends on
Right.
whether that 15 days, that Tuesday
Yes,
will be
yes.
fit into that window. But historically, we've pushed that back up a week. So typically, we sort of on the third Tuesday of the month, which sometimes is beyond the 15th. You know, we meet the week before, and our board. Very good board, very fortunate. They allow us to do a combo meeting. These organizational meetings are usually very quick,
Yes.
you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes.
Yes.
And then we typically exit out of the organizational and go right to the regular meeting.
Regular meeting, yes.
Where some will have it, you know, the organizational meeting, then we'll meet at their regular established date later in the month. We've not done that. You know, people are busy, people value their time, and I appreciate that the board recognizes that. They're busy themselves, just like I am. They've got their own life, you know, and tugs, and so we come out of one meeting, go right to another. Went really well. If I had to guesstimate, I'd say our organizational meeting lasted probably 15 to 16 minutes.
Then you did some board recognition and some other
Yeah,
things going on.
and
didn't
I
you?
appreciate you bringing that up. Ohio School Boards Association, or OSBA, January is always School Board Recognition Month, and I think it's important to pause for a moment and thank your board members and show your appreciation for them. School board members certainly don't do it for the money. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, or it's not a for-profit venture. I mean, do you get paid to be a school board member? You do, but the amount of work and expectation of you in return is much greater than the money, the pennies you're making, you know, on the hour, the time, whatever. But I do want to pause for a minute and just thank our board members. We have 5 tremendous people. Really work well together, have the best interest of the kids and the community and the staff at heart. I've got a 30-plus year board member.
Wow.
I don't know where he ranks in the state of Ohio, but I have a board member. He's a farmer in the community. His name's Carlisle Smith. He's 30-plus years on the board. I've got to believe that if I contacted OSBA, he's got to be somewhere in the top 10, 20 in the state as far as
I would think so.
as far as sitting members.
Yeah.
Have another board member, Tim Bouchelder. He's our new president, returning president, I should say. He was reelected. He's approaching almost 2 decades. This term, I believe, will get him to 2 decades as a school board member at Northmor. And then have Carolyn Beal. She's a retired educator on my board, so she really has good perspective on education and what that should look like. Owns a local bed and breakfast in the district as well. Have former employee Kathy Miller. I believe Kathy's on her 2nd term, if I'm not mistaken. Retired secretary from the district. Her and her family also own a local excavating business as well. And then we have a new elected board member named Lisa Kramer, who works down at the treasurer's or the auditor's office down in Morrow County. So just want to thank our board members, great people, truly vested in what's happening in the district. So.
Well, I'll tell you, like I say, January, you got the recognition, you got a lot of your organization on your board. I'm glad you recognize your board members. And I know you recognize your staff and that, because it's all one team what makes things happen in that school district.
Yeah, it's all one family, it's all one group. You know, I know we'll have Teacher Appreciation Week and some of those things on the horizon, and there's all kinds of those things. And our staff's tremendous as well. I mean, our staff works hard. They care about kids. We've really got a wonderful situation. I'm just fortunate and blessed to get to be the superintendent and be part of such a wonderful, wonderful school district.
All right, now we're into various sports parts in the sports season, so I'm not real sure where you're at. So you might want to enlighten us what's going on with that.
I say this I think about every time I come on about this time of year, and I don't know if it's because I'm aging, but time goes so fast.
You're aging?
Well,
I don't age. I
think you look good.
Well, let's put it this way: they carbon date me now.
There you go.
They've come out with carbon dating for me.
Yeah, they say, what do they say about the camera ads? Wait till your dad's age, and it certainly doesn't help me. It's probably true.
I don't know about for you, but for me, it's just like
Sure, but no, it's this time just goes so fast. I'm just every year we're getting about the mid part of the school year, and I'm like, wow, we're kind of looking down the rear end of things here. And
yes.
We're on the second half of the year, and if you really think about it, I'll be back with you here. And I looked at my calendar this morning. I believe I'm back in late February, early March. I'd have to look, but when you think about it, February, March, April, May, we're done. I mean, we're 4 months away from saying goodbye to the class of 2024.
Yes.
They're going to move on into their endeavors, whether it be armed forces, workforce, college. We know what that may look like for them. And then we'll be welcoming a new senior class, a new group of preschoolers, a new group of kindergartners. And I sat back and scratched my head, and I just think, where in the world did the time go? But great school year. Winter sports we are knee deep into winter sports. Those basketball teams, girls and boys, bowling and wrestling are our 4 winter things. They're on the backside of the season. A lot of those programs are 15, 16, 17 games into their 22 regular seasons.
Wow.
So junior high sports, middle school sports, they're a week, 2 away from being done. And then we're talking spring sports. So it just amazes me. But those tournament draws are going to be coming up soon. So stay tuned for those. My guess is this will air before we even have those dates posted. But we'll be in a tournament play, and we'll see how that goes. But our kids are working hard, coaches are working hard, doing a great job, and it's been a fun winter. In the spring, it'll be the same.
Well, and see, you brought up a good point. Now, a lot of people out here, they're thinking, you're looking, because you're midway through the school year. Mm-hmm. So you got your eye on finishing this year out, but you always got your eye on 24-25 school year.
Absolutely.
So you always got things, it's like I've spoken with the other superintendents, it's like a pipeline. Mm-hmm. You've got things that's there, and you kind of move through them as they go on. Mm-hmm. So, I understand that. And I understand also that you got some projects that are in phase 3, am I correct?
Yeah, we are in the final phase, and I've talked about that off and on.
Yes.
On here for years now. J&F Construction was the local contractor who was the positive recipient of winning that project in that bid. And we built a new concession stand, ticket booth restroom area, and very excited for that to come on board this year. So when our baseball, softball teams actually go out to play, we just haven't had a concession stand or anything for them to use. Now, some people would come out and sell, bottles of water, Gatorade. People are hot and thirsty, but this spring we'll occupy that space. That project is complete. So I'm excited for our parents to get to watch, ball games and work the concession stand. Great view from the concession stand over the fields, and it's really a nice elevated view. So it kind of almost looks like a bird's eye view of the ball fields, and it is just gorgeous. So excited about that. And then of course we'll roll that into the fall. We're going to centralize all of our flow, so when people come to football games, that'll look differently as they enter and exit our stadium as well. We're going to kind of funnel everybody into the same kind of walking path, if you will, and bring them out into the same area. So that'll be a change for our guests and our traditional community members. But excited about that. This has been a long time coming. We've been working on this project for 3 or 4 years, and it's finally getting buttoned up, and excited to see people occupy space, present nice facilities to them, restrooms, ticket areas, and that concession stand. So it's just going to be a win-win for our people coming to visit our campus and for our folks on campus as well in our community.
Well, that again, improvements are always a good thing, but like I said, some of these projects, they just take time.
Mhm.
There's always something that's weather, various other variables,
Mhm.
maybe materials. A lot of things can impact those.
Mhm.
I wanted to maybe end today on something a little different. And I happened to think of this real early this morning. I mentioned it this year. I give you a little heads up before you did because I didn't want to just spring it on you.
Mhm.
I got to thinking, you are obviously superintendent of the Northmor local school district,
Yep.
but you also serve as a board member on the Bucyrus City School Board, correct?
That is accurate. I'm a Bucyrus grad. I'm a
Okay.
Bucyrus resident. I was an employee of Bucyrus City Schools in the early 2000s. Spent
Mhm.
3 years here as a teacher and coached football and wrestling as well. And have since moved on and, done different things in different districts. But yeah, I do reside in the community. Obviously, that's a must. You have to,
Yeah.
in order to be on a school board,
Right.
you have to live in the district.
But-
My wife's a Bucyrus grad. I often joke that I have a love affair with 2 districts. I love my Northmor Golden Knights, and I also love my Bucyrus Redmond. And I think that helps me bring a broader perspective
Yes.
to the role. Been at Northmor 14 years and been the superintendent 9 now, and never imagined I'd be a school board member. But Bucyrus had an opening, and I was an appointee, and then I had to actually run to finish the term, and was successful at that. And just want to be, an asset to the community and a help to the community, and I think we've got some wonderful things. This is not for me to plug for Bucyrus. I'm here for Northmor.
Right.
But Bucyrus has some really tremendous things going on, and I'm just happy and proud to say I'm part of that and to be part of the school
Yeah.
board.
The reason I mentioned this is just the word you brought up. It brings a different perspective
Mhm.
because those are 2 vastly different school districts,
Mhm.
Northmore and the Bucyrus City Schools.
Yeah.
And then what I'm thinking of is being an administrator, but being an administrator and being on a board,
Mhm.
that's a whole, because as you know, I serve on
Yes.
a number of boards,
Yep.
and especially policy-making boards.
Sure.
And sometimes people don't understand what
Mhm.
their role should be on these boards.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of respect for that. I think that gives you a little perspective of, like I said, I interview roughly 9 superintendents on here,
Sure.
on this program, and I thought that kind of uniquely sets you apart. And I want to congratulate you for that, because to actually do what you're doing as a superintendent of a school district and also serving on them, I think that's rather unique. And I just think that's pretty awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. I do enjoy it. I just want to be an asset and help to Bucyrus City Schools,
Right.
and I believe I can do that from the lens of a board member. And as you mentioned, board members, their primary responsibility is governance and policy.
Yes.
I know that at times that some of that becomes gray or clouded, people's perceptions of that. School board members, they don't run day-to-day operations.
Right.
Their policy and governance, and there are 2 direct reports to the Board of Education. Myself as superintendent,
Mhm.
and the treasurer are direct reports to the Board of Education.
Yes.
And that's just kind of how that rolls and how that looks. And jokingly, I've had several, when I became a board member at Bucyrus, I had several superintendents look at me in Italy, just kind of told me I was insane. Why would you want to do that? And don't you get enough? And I guess I don't get enough. I guess I like school a lot.
Yeah.
And I like school communities.
Well,
But,
what I'm saying is, I think that's above and beyond as far as I'm concerned. I just thought it should be recognized, and I just,
Yeah.
I just think it's something because you can add so much perspective on that. Because
Mhm.
having been on a board,
Mhm.
I'm currently on a number of boards, and I see how boards operate, and I'm a former educator. I've done so many different things in my career and life,
Mhm.
businesses and everything else, that I just have a whole different perspective. And so once you start sitting in everybody's seat, you
Mhm.
get a little bit better view of it all.
Sure.
Well, I'll tell you, anything else you want to add today before we maybe do a wrap on this podcast?
I just want to encourage our staff and students to keep working hard. It's time to find that it's in grind time. It is
Yeah.
time to be gritty. It's time to work hard. We've had 5 calamity days, and that gives
Yeah.
people some reprieve and
Uh-huh.
a little bit of rest, if you will. But I truly and sincerely hope that those calamity days are behind us.
I hope so as
But
well.
we know how weather can be.
Yes.
If we just don't know it,
Yeah.
we sometimes we've got issues in March,
Yes,
as you
yes,
know. But
yes.
it's time for us to buckle down and just grind out the remainder of the school year. And I'm confident our kids and families and staff will do that.
Well, Chad, I always appreciate having you here. Chad Redmond, thank you for coming over and being on the podcast this morning. I appreciate it very much, from the Northmor Local School District. and appreciate it. Thank you again for being a guest on the
Thank you
on the
very
podcast.
much. Thank you.
Bye bye.